Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Cosmonarchy cast. This set of games between Neblime and SmrtyCakes is going to show us the way of the Protoss versus Protoss. I hope you guys are excited about that, because I sure am. The dark green Protoss in the bottom left is going to be Neblime, our favorite for this series. We're starting off on Saberhand, which is a fitting map for PvP, as it's a Protoss-themed port to Cosmonarchy of Blade Runner by Minerals, done by yours truly. Smarty is in the bottom right as our red Protoss, and he's going to be going for that gateway on both sides, actually. However, Neblime's harvesting a lot of Vespene. We'll see what that's all about. I have a lot to say about this matchup, I think, in terms of players. Smarty's been on a huge tear, an underdog run. He's seed number 10 going up against Neblime, who in some ways was predicted to get here, given his side of the bracket. It was either going to be him or the Shambler, who is seated as number 2. And guess who took down the Shambler? Oh yeah, Smarty. So will this be a 3-0 drubbing with Neblime just taking his lunch money and saying, nah, you're not on my level, kid? Honestly, I don't think so. It would be really surprising to me if Neblime ended up dropping like the whole series. I think Neblime should win, but Smarty should take a map, maybe even take 2 maps and threaten for some serious action. He's just been too good with practice, with his just all of the stuff that he's been doing lately in general with the game as far as like actual results. And he is going to be brought to a little bit of a limit here, as not only is this a 4-spot map, Neblime's map pick, as he is the higher seed, he gets that first pick, with a Corrosion being our second map, by the way, so that's up next. But not only is that happening, but he's also going for the Rogue Gallery build. Now, Smarty's been practicing a lot with Aoud, Smarty's been practicing a lot with just Kasuga and a bunch of other players. I don't know if he's settled on a good Protoss versus Protoss matchup or mindset, but it would be a pretty storied run for him if he makes it all the way to the grand finals. We already know that Ascozi is going to feature in the grand finals of this event. Not something that I had on my bingo card, by the way. I actually thought they would fall apart a little bit there. You know, they weren't ready yet, but apparently people are just hyped up with them and they're able to do some really nutty things. That being said, if Smarty were to even just place into the grand final, it would be a crazy underdog story. He would have defeated Art of Turtle Zerg, Shambler Terran, and Neblime Protoss to face Dog-Lived Ascozi. Like, he literally would have to run the whole gamut, and there's something magical about that. And so in that way, I am a little bit rooted for him, thinking he's like, oh man, it's a really cool story, really cool underdog story. That being said, the Cabalist is on the way, and Neblime is no joke. And he's also my homie, so I'm not going to say I'm rooting against him. I'm just saying there are reasons to cheer for both sides here. I think Neblime is by far and away the favorite, but I do expect Smarty to post up an impressive series nonetheless. However, oh, no, he just gets in just barely off. Well, that Cabalist was almost just going to be reposted in that way. Let's see how much damage Neblime actually ends up going for. A little bit of how the Cabalist works: when it's cloaked, it teleports to its next victim, kind of like the Legionnaire does when it has a marked target, but it gets increased damage during that time. It increases its damage by 50%, so it will one-shot the scribes, and oh my god, they're not mining, so they can't just walk right through them. Oh dear, it's already got 5 kills. This is pretty bad, guys. This is pretty dire. Smarty has got his units up here, his workers down here. He's trying to just chase this guy around. It can be difficult to see, I guess, but I would expect him to already have figured it out. No. Don't attack your gateway. That's not going to help. Oh, he's got him, right? He needed one more Legionnaire hit. One more Legionnaire hit, and he would have stopped the bleeding. I have a feeling he's going to be taking a few more worker kills. But by the way, the anti-Cabalist measures on Neblime's side of the map. Of course, you know, that's just the way it is. Pretty wild stuff, honestly. I am a little bit shocked, a little bit perplexed and surprised by the way that this is all going. He actually got 8 kills. He's gonna get another. No, all the units were in the bottom. Smarty. Oh man, you know, honestly, I think you can share some blame here. I know Smarty looks like he's just been made a fool of, but listen, he was playing Red Alert. He's playing Mental Omega last night. You can blame a certain game dominator, Dino Man 4877, for this particular shenanigan. Unbelievable. He lost all of his practice. Lost all of his chops. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He's like, why is my Nexus not packing up on its own when I click on it? Finally, Neblime just offers him up the Cabalist and says, yeah, finally, take it. I've done enough damage. Just 11 kills, 12 kills. Ridiculous. A couple idle workers over here for Neblime, but not nearly enough to make up the deficit that Smarty is currently experiencing. Nexus is only now warping in, where it's halfway complete for our Overdog, our favorite for the match. Pylon block at 3 o'clock to add insult to injury. I don't actually think many people are going to take this as their third. I think they probably will opt for the mineral-only little micro base over here, just because I think it's a pretty good defensive option. Bulwark at here. That's not really going to help you out for a frontal attack, but I guess he's really paranoid about another Kabbalist. Neblime is both the type of player who would make more Kabbalists after the first one gets so much damage and like find a lot of value in it. Which would warrant this paranoia. But he's also the type of player to just be like, no, I did all that with one Kabbalist. Now I'm going to tech. And look at this. Prostration stage. His Nexus is done. I mean, we're looking at a situation where it's pretty ironclad. Neblime's going to be able to take this game. So we almost have to start looking ahead into the future. On Corrosion, will Smarty be able to, fight back? Will he be able to kind of reset? He's going his Ardent Authority, like he's going through the motions. He's going to play the game out. I'm not saying he should GG right now, but I think it's important for your mental game, depending on who you are. Smarty, everybody's a little bit different. Smarty might not need what I'm about to say, but it's helpful to be able to look at this and be like, okay, here are the games that I can do. Here are the things I can do. Let me get back into the swing of it. Let me get my hands warm. Let me feel like confident. Let me, maybe tire out my opponent, stuff like that. And let's see what we can make happen there. So that, to me, feels like what Smarty should be looking to do here. Embassy on the way for Neblime. He's got his Lattice to support the Prostration stage. There's probably going to be Manifolds, if I had to guess, try to help punch through the armor. And we have Manifolds for Smarty as well. By the way, there's Protoss textures I was talking about earlier. Yeah, that's what Saberhand's got. This is most of the tiling of the map. The map took a long time to make because I had to manually tile all this stuff. And there's also like a bunch of hidden stuff related to height advantage and whatnot. That I had to make sure to account for in vision and stuff like that. So it took a lot of effort in that respect. And you also have these side disruptors here to like constrain armies, but you can blow them open later on if you want bigger movement. Ancestral Archives in the middle of the map, mostly just to terrify Shopkeeper Dog, 100% win rate for Protosses versus Shopkeeper Dog. And maybe even other races as well, and maybe even Terran versus Shopkeeper Dog, just because like, oh my god, I can't do it. It's scarier than a Monty Medicine. Waiting for an Optecton to spawn out. I should, just as a bit, I should make it so that when this Ancestral Archives dies, an Optecton appears. Should it be called the Shop Tecton? I like that. I think that's really good. Anyway. One of the things that I guess, I was trying to think of, like, are there other units that are like that? And it would be like the Didact for Arbuz. He's always said that the Didact is like a really OP unit. It's the Arbiter in Starcraft, but it's the Didact in Cosmonarchy. You know what's really funny is that both of those unit names are also in Halo, but the Didact is like a soiled word for me now. I recently replayed Halo 4. What a disaster. Absolute abomination. Why does Master Chief have a longer script in Halo 4 than he does in all of the other Halos combined? Except for Halo 5, where he monologues in the trailer. What the fuck? What? Blech. Gross. Icky. Patooey. Anyway. Back to this game that doesn't have any of those because it's not Halo. We do have a Legionnaire spotting out the army movement. By the way, this little asphalt piece over here is actually high ground. It's a ramp, so that's something that I probably need to try to tweak over time to make it a little bit more visually obvious. We do have an Envoy with some Positrons out, so it looks like Smarty is prepping for that. His Clarion just finished. There's a chance he could try to hold here, but his defenses are looking really lackluster. The Bulwark obviously not going to help out versus this incoming attack. Let's see if those Manifolds can be enough of a difference maker so his Ecclesias can help chip down the Pariah. There are some Ecclesias on the other side. The Clarion needs to get a little bit closer to shield everybody, and so radius is not the best. And it does feel like that at first Pariah went down pretty quickly. There's another one there. Now Neblime's going to have to pull his workers from the natural and see what he can do on the defense. He's got some units there on the rally, but it looks like they're coming across the map instead. Pariah chunked down a half HP. Neblime still hasn't noticed. His workers are going down. Hold on. He's actually got less workers than Smarty all of a sudden. But can Smarty actually stay alive? That's the question. He's going to focus down that Pariah. Finally, it will end up going down, but it does give attack speed to everybody in the process. Looks like Neblime just wants to fall back. Instead, he's actually losing more workers in the main base. I think. Maybe not. Oh, no, they're starting to pop. 8 workers killed from that one, but we saw way more killed in the natural from the other guy that died to the Matrix. Wowee. Okay, so there is a third base up and running. This isn't as bad as it looks for Neblime. But, that, I mean, I guess Smarty just equalized the early game based off of that. I'm still a little bit concerned for his ability to hold, though. I mean, we got this big Protoss ball coming in to try to force its way in. We don't have any Zealots here, or do we do it? They're in the back. Not quite able to get there in the front. The Pariah's still not able to find a way to get forward in. Now you see the army kind of parting of the Red Sea, and look at that lineup of all of the Ecclesiasts just going down to the one pariah. Oh man, the Vagrants are going to finish the Acantor off. The Clarion was not enough. GG. Smarty ends up dropping game 1. A little bit of redemption for him, right? That's exactly what I was talking about when I said we need to see Smarty kind of get a little bit more going for himself when it comes to the mental game. Get it back into it, warm up. Well, game 2, Corrosion, is coming up. So ladies and gentlemen, join me for that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for game 2. Neblime versus SmrtyCakes continues, and we have cross spawns on Corrosion. Well, there can only be cross spawns. This is not a 4-spawn map, not even like Battle Spectre where it's cross spawn and forced, and there's 4 different configurations. SmrtyCakes will be our Beaster Brown, Protoss in the top left, and Neblime is down here in the bottom right as the Ultramarine Protoss. We will be seeing, I'm sure, more Kabbalist play. Smarty did struggle a lot, let's be real, versus the Kabbalist, but he did start to come back a little bit with those Positrons. I don't know, maybe something magical could have happened there. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's one of those things that really makes you think. Like, how different could that match have been had he not lost everything to Kabbalists? Smarty will surely have some kind of correction. Actually, it's funny. Neblime showed what the response to that Kabbalist play can be. I think his Warden was a little bit excessive, but eventually you do want coverage there when your army isn't there. So at some point you do want to get it, and usually you want to get it before you move out with your army, in preparation for moving out with your army, so that you have some coverage there and there's no gap in it. Oh, look at this, Gateway Embassy. Okay, that's the response here from Smarty. So Neblime going for the 2 gates rather than the Gate Rogue Gallery. He's also changing things up a little bit. But his style was, Warden, sure, whatever, take it or leave it, and then units with a Hierophant. Now, the Hierophant's the key ingredient there because when it attacks, it slows enemy movement. So the Kabbalist will jump in and then be slowed by the Hierophant, and then be absolutely bopped in the forthcoming attacks as they assail him. I think with Neblime scouting the embassy here, he's going to be pretty happy. He's going to feel like his Kabbalist treatment to Smarty has done the necessary evil to him. And I even love keeping the scribe over here so the Legionnaire can't move across to scout what's happening, because he would scout that it's a 2-gate, maybe, okay, yeah, just 2-gate. I thought maybe that was a scribe instead of a Legionnaire. 2-gate build as the open, and Neblime's not going for Kabbalist, at least not yet. So the fact that he, the fact that Smarty is so very happy to go for a witness very early on into the game to try to counter this, I surely Neblime is going to feel a little bit more powerful here as the second gateway only now finishing up for Smarty. So the army advantage will be on the side of Neblime. Third gateway going down for our underdog. And does Neblime want to actually attack, or does he just want to take this opportunity to go for a more tech development or something? Oh, third gate. So I think he's kind of showing his hand, right? He does want to go after the attack. The witness does feel a little bit grounded here. It can't quite leave, moving across the map. That's one of those things that I think when you see it, you're like, well, you have the witness, you can go and scout. If the Kabbalist shows up, you're kind of boned, right? You don't actually have any defense. So I don't think you need the witness or any detection, in fact, to kill the Kabbalist. I think you sacrifice a scribe or 2, yes, but if they don't get more than that, they're usually behind with the Kabbalist opener. They're looking for a lot of damage. They're not looking for as much damage as Neblime got game 1. Let's be real. Like 11, 12 workers or whatever. 4 gate for Neblime. Okay, well, I was already pretty sure he was going to do something more aggressive. Pylon and Matrix at the ramp. Smarty, what are you doing? I think this might end up being a one base versus one base sort of game style here for both players, because obviously we got 4 gate on one side. But this is kind of outrageous. Like, Matrix at the ramp. Does this stylistically beat 4 gate? Going 3 gate with defenses and, of course, detection. Yeah, maybe. It doesn't beat it in the sense that it, like, oh, you see this and it's GG. It's more like you can't attack up, so I guess you have to transition into an expand. Whereas if Neblime was expanding, he'd be ahead versus this. But because he's going for something that requires an attack in order to win, he's conceptually behind here off the back of this Matrix being there. Do we have any Ecclesiasts, though? Looks like we only have the 1. Yeah. So the overall shield sustain isn't great, but we only have the 2 zealots. Yeah, I think he's gonna need a little bit more to see what's going on here. He scouts out that Matrix, and does he just cancel the attack, or does he want to try to chance it anyway? Like, sometimes you can break these kinds of positions. Artisans, by the way, off the fast embassy. Something that Neblime is aware of as well. He's going to go for the extra minerals in the side satellite base. Oh yeah, and this one has the reservoirs, so keep that in mind. And there's the Nexus. So he is going to go for a transition, but Smarty isn't strictly one basing here. He does have the Artisans giving him a little bit of extra income. This is like the Shambler style from Acropolis 3's Tribunal, or the Sausage style now, I guess, as some people will probably know it as, because he loves the Artisan. He loves the Artisan. We'll see what other things you can do. I mean, on this kind of map, if you have control over the reservoirs with Artisans, or with any worker really, but Artisans are obviously the most powerful, it does feel like you can't really do much wrong. Oh, okay. Well, this Nexus is going to have to be canceled. He got the attack speed buff and everything, so Smarty will not be able to deal with that army. This little containment is still giving Neblime a lot of value here. And he's got adding in manifolds. That definitely makes sense. I feel like manifolds are a really good add in general. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, too, is we saw it a little bit in the last fight there on Saberhand, but it's worth pointing out that the fights can be difficult to read in PvP right now. The overlay count is pretty high. I mean, every unit has shields, and every time a unit with shields takes damage, they create a shield overlay proc that visually adds noise to the fights anyway, even if there are no on-hit effects. So at some point, you know, we'll be reducing opacity of effects and stuff, trying to make them a little bit more legible when stacked up together. It's an ongoing process, but I will do my best to try to point out what exactly is going on. As an example, you know, the Ecclesiast and the Matrix have those shield sustain heals. The Legionnaire targets units and then makes them, is able to teleport to them. The Hierophant slows units, and then if the overlay turns red, it's an indication that it's now time for that unit to have slower attack speed. And when they die, they give attack speed over to the allies, and so stuff like that is going on. There's a lot of interactions, a lot of moving parts, but bottom line is, this is an opportunity to consider, you know, what might need to be done for these on-hits to work together with each other. And Neblime's gone Stargate Aurora, so this is a really interesting little flourish. The Scribes the jig is up for the Scribes. They need to fall away. Smarty's army is not big enough to just defeat Neblime straight up, though. And in fact, Neblime's responding to this movement by moving out of his own base. I don't know if he's actually seen this army move out exactly. Like, is he aware that the army is this size? Not entirely sure. Smarty does have a superior army count right now by a fair amount, and also a superior worker count because of his artisan production. So in theory, he's nominally ahead, but Neblime, he's always a little bit crafty. He's got some idea planned. What are the Auroras for? I guess they're just going to patrol over here. Start heckling those positions. I think Auroras are really good, personally, but not a unit that you'll see too much love for in general. And yes, the Aurora comes up, cancels out any mining over here, and all of a sudden those 8 workers that Smarty has in here that make up most of his advantage are indeed going to have to tuck tail and return home and at best harvest stuff from the natural. That would be the most efficient way for them to do things. So the fact that the Stargate play has been revealed, you might immediately think, okay, Smarty can now like prepare for that. Is it worth showing the hand of the Aurora? He's not going Mass Aurora, he's going Gladius behind it with 2 Stargate, and the Witness is also seeing it anyway, so I guess this is kind of a moot point. But I think Gladius is really good in a fight. You know, they don't need to be used as harassment vehicles. They can definitely do other things. Crucible coming in for Smarty is scouted out by the Aurora, which is going to nimbly dart away. 1 Gladius moving out onto the field. I'm trying to think the last time I saw Neblime use Stargate. I think it was on Dyadic Shore versus Sausage in a weekend wage. It was a dumpstering of a game. But that was after a pretty long game on Maximus, where Neblime was also able to take the victory 2-0 in series play there, leaving Sausage the 4th seed in that particular event. But Neblime is pretty established in PvP by now. I mean, he's just been playing Protoss for so long. He was not originally a Protoss player. He was originally like a Terran player in StarCraft 1, and I'm sure, he played all the races, but he would call himself a Terran main, as far as I understand, and he did indeed win as Terran, win as Zerg, and then he's like, all right, time for my 3P, I'll go as Protoss, and at that point, we had too many homies. Neblime, what are you doing? That's your scribe. Stop that. We had too many homies that were just a little bit too good, and he was not able, he made it all the way to the final, was not able to challenge Aoud. Now, that being said, as this Aurora is going to be shooed away by that Drakodon, and we have another one controlling the top right for Smarty, big army movement for him. Is he going to be the new top dog here on the Protoss side and dethrone the Australian? USA versus AUS. They just reoriented the letters. Come on now. No front line here for Neblime. He's basically going full Dracodon, Hierophant, Ecclesiast. He obviously has the Gladius as well. Coming in from the bottom, it is sort of pulling the attention of some of the anti-air. And the Gladiuses will do some damage to the Zealots over time. I'd love a Manifold with them somehow, but not something Neblime has access to right in this moment. And it does feel like that little flanking maneuver with the Gladiuses and some of the gateway units did intimidate Smarty a little bit. He's going to try to go for a Nexus at 12, but there's an Ecclesiast watching and now blocking the area. If he had just put it down anyway, it would have been fine. He'll at least bop the Witness, so there's that. Blinding Neblime in that particular area. Third base already well underway here for the Lemon. And, I mean, he's got no real tech development here, but still, he's been able to identify where his opponent is expanding to. By the way, this is a big deal. Those Artisans did migrate over to the top right. Another attempt at a third base. Neblime's 2 on the ball for this kind of thing. I think there's a scribe moving all the way down to like the 9 o'clock, but that's a really hard base to defend, and the Flyers are going to get vision of it anyway. Witness spying, the army moving out. What does Neblime want to do? He's not quite responding to it. Yes, he has. Gone back to the high ground. These little ledges here. Almost inspired by Citadel, I think it was the map. Interesting. Zealot kills Legionnaire. I never could have guessed that. And Artisan number 9 moving over here. And not going to go for that base. Instead going to go after the Reservoir. Oh my god, Neblime! Stop finding all of his scribes! This is ridiculous! Didn't respond fast enough to drop the Nexus. They both got money. Man, that's brutal. Every time he went for a third base, he just got absolutely bopped. And part of it is his own fault for not just dropping the Nexus that first time versus the Ecclesiast, but it's getting kind of silly. Aurora can help out in this fight versus the Dracodon, if he even wants to. A little bit of micro there. By the big ball of Protoss here, which does actually have some Positrons, not dropped this time. Witness still spying everything that's happening over here, by the way. The Crucible not empowering this far Stargate is a little unfortunate. Could be 1 hex closer. Unitary Union comes up next to it. So we'll probably see a Silience if I had to guess. The Gladius count for bounces. Looking pretty good here. Looking pretty good. Now, he really needs to respect the Positrons, so hopefully he can pick those out of the lineup and focus them down with, like, the Dracodons or something, or just let the Gladiuses do their thing. I love the Exemplar switch every now and then. Just having a couple of them with your army will do some pretty consistent splash damage, and Positrons clump up a lot, so also worth pointing out. Dracodon comes back. Cycled out for someone who's a little bit healthier and will be clearing Neblime's Wounded Warrior. Ah, second Unitary. Okay, so yeah, really doubling down on the tier 3 tech rather than try to scale up. Oh my god, stop it, Neblime! You're evil! Unbelievable. Well, Scribe's pulling away from the spot as new arrivals come to colonize. Ah, the Aurora has found the Artisans in the top right. Okay, but he doesn't want to stick around for whatever reason. Going back over to 12. Gladiuses are at a count of 8. Is there ever going to be a third base for Smarty? I guess he's just content to rock it with the Artisans, but he can build a Nexus somewhere, surely. Try to protect his investment in the top right. He now has laid claim to the bottom left as well. What is going on over here? I'm as lost as you guys are. Spending down the money is a tough task for both of these players, but Neblime has a bit more of it right now. He needs to cycle back with those Dracodons as the army starts to cycle over to the far side. There's a lot of Wardens and a Bulwark and a Matrix for good measure. A couple Zealots get pulled into the attack force, and the Gladiuses are actually going straight for the top right. That was spotted by all of the Witnesses, the Artisan, etc. Do we have any Hierophants that can tag him? Doesn't look like right now. The answer is yes. So it does feel like this is a pretty committed push with all of his Gladiuses. Now he comes in to try to clear this bottom left at the same time. And what is he going to be able to do? I mean, he's got a lot of Gladiuses, so he can definitely clear the mining, but is he going to have to commit all of his forces is the question. He ends up only losing 1. Look at this position from Smarty, though. He's really trying to get him. Oh, Neblime! You got to be careful, man. There's Positrons in that army. They will splash you down. Oh, and the Charlatan's making it even worse. Good grief. He's kind of got him pinned, but look, he can cancel out the third base again. Look, Smarty decided, I'm going to take every damn Nexus on the map then if you're not going to let me take a third base. And still, he ends up getting bopped. A momentary lapse in judgment there as Smarty was supposed to be chasing down these Gladiuses. and will eventually get most of them, but at the cost of all potential third bases. And remember, there's static defense over here, gateways to wall out all of those units. Architects are starting to come alive. This is looking like a very good outmaneuvering by Neblime for that second win. Positrons kill the witness just by accident. Classic. I guess the Exemplar can move into the main base to just be annoying, but not doing that right now. Cycling them now back to that very important third that has been operational this whole time. Neener, says Neblime. And look at this, the fourth base has also been up and running. So the economy is definitely favoring our Ultramarine Protoss, our favorite, but is a pretty fearsome army. If Smarty can just orient it towards the enemy and pull the trigger on an attack and do some good micro here. Positrons are doing their best to try to splatter those Zealots off to the left-hand side of the fight. Watch for those big blue things, the blue and white that you can't hardly miss, to be honest, with how noisy they are. Positrons are definitely clearing out all the front line, but the Exemplars are still in a good spot. The Architects are wailing on the front of Smarty, and he's losing almost all of his units that are going to protect those very important Positrons. He has accepted a 12 o'clock base. He has actually gotten it up. So there is that at least for Smarty, a little silver lining, but he's still down a base. Can his tech be the difference maker? Not if the Positrons just start the front line going straight in and losing a lot of them in the process. His army's starting to thin out. The Exemplars are still hangling. Those Gladiuses from before are starting to shut down 12 o'clock before he can really even get off the ground. We don't have any really good splash damage here for Neblime. The Positrons are going straight for the Architects, making a beeline for it. The Exemplars need to turn their focus onto them if they can. And yeah, it does take a long time for the armor of the Architect to be beaten back by the Positrons. The sheer breadth of the army a little bit too much for Smarty, and he crashes upon Neblime's rocks like a tidal wave that is eventually turned into nothing but a puddle. All right, I was kind of working on something there. I'll have to do that a little bit better next time. GG, Smarty has dropped. We go to Neblime, 2-0 start to this series. I did say earlier, I don't think this is going to be a 3-0 showing. I think Smarty's really impressed me, and he's hanging with Neblime, as proven in that particular game especially. Let's see if he can start the comeback, start the revenge arc, start the reverse sweep that is needed for him in this game coming up right now. Smarty in good spirits, high spirits after that game on Corrosion, feeling like it was a good match. Neblime doesn't need those good spirits, he's winning. Our Vermilion? Terran? No, Protoss. I was just talking about Neblime being a Terran player. A Terran at heart. He wants to go back to Terran. If he wins as Protoss or gets knocked out in the Gauntlet stage, he doesn't have to play Protoss anymore, and he can start playing Terran. At what point do you think to yourself, man, I really don't need to... I really don't need to do this. I don't need to play only Protoss. There's even a fourth race in the game I could play instead. Alexander, teach this man some reason. Help him see the light of not playing Protoss. Neblime is going to be looking pretty good to make it into the grand finals from here on out, but Smarty can still do a thing. He is our Zephyr Protoss. It was a little bit darker than Ultramarine, so I knew for sure it wasn't Ultramarine. And then I was guessing it would be Ultramarine anyway, even though I was going to guess after. Anyway, bottom line is, I was right! I'm always right. Smarty is going to be going for that gateway. Anti-6 pole placement. This gateway above the Nexus. It doesn't really matter for the first unit. It's usually a Legionnaire, but... Either way, we will be seeing that play come out soon. And Macroglia is where we are on now. Macroglia? Not sure how to say it. Still never sure, but that's all right. And I'm looking forward to seeing what... Smarty cancels the gateway because he's got the rogue gallery in the middle of the map. This is what I was waiting for. The temple is something that does provide you with a little bit extra resource income, but also is a power field. And will Protoss players know that? I mean, Neblime knows it because on... Brainstorm. There's a couple of temples in the middle of the map, and I always talked about Proxy Gateway there, and I even did it a few times. To mixed results, it was pretty funny. But I was always telling Neblime, like, yeah, I'm still waiting for you to do that, or any Protoss to do that, other than me. And he's like, no. So that was his take. The temple is... Oh, okay, he's going to put a rogue gallery on both sides. I guess the idea being that maybe he won't see one of them. I feel like this increases the risk of him seeing this one, though, right? Like, coming in from the bottom left, you'd come up this ramp and then take this path, and so the rogue gallery would probably be seen. Maybe it doesn't get seen by autopath. I don't know how practiced this particular maneuver is from Smarty. But if you can cheese a game and get out on the board, you know, the rest of the series becomes a lot more doable. Scribe just banking out here on side the third base. Neblime always keeps the Scribe handy. Look at this. Warden and Bulwark. Oh, man, that's really screwing with the mining returns. Oh, jeez. He needs to cancel that Bulwark. Look at the gas efficiency, or lack thereof. Is he going to do it? We may never know. I'll keep it selected while I look over the rest of the base. Herald coming for Neblime. No detection for him. No Hierophant either. Oh, never mind. It's about to finish. This is where typically I end up like clicking on stuff and seeing at the same time instead of just using that. I can't believe he actually did that. Look at his gas. He needs like 4 workers on that geyser now. I mean, the biggest thing is that, like, okay, it sucks to have to use 2 more workers to saturate your base, but the bigger problem is definitely that you don't always notice it, right? And I don't think he's noticed it. So it's whatever if you have to put those 2 extra workers there, but it's also like, damn, I can't believe I have to do this. Now, the Hierophant is out to try to slow things down. We'll see Neblime's response to the Kabbalist play. This is something that got 11 frags, I think it was, for Neblime on Saberhand. We need to see a little bit more out of it now. He's actually a little bit lackadaisical with it. Oh, no. Oh, no, he got scammed. Oh! Not quite able to make it happen, but there's more where that came from, a second Kabbalist. Oh, the cancel of the embassy. That's actually really consequential because there is still another Kabbalist. It almost like works out nicely for him. He has to rebuild it. He has to. My God, man. Well, he still goes for extra worker kills. I don't know how good that is. I think you need to kill a little bit more. The Kabbalist can jump out. The Kabbalist can jump out. Just attack the temple. He can blink out. But does he know that, though? The Vagrant can't. The Vagrant's stuck. Sorry, I'm busy looking at pathing. He's actually just going to start heckling the Warden, it looks like. If he gets like 2 Kabbalists in here, he can't kill the Warden. Neblime's definitely a little bit befuddled by what's going on. There's a bunch of units back at home. Oh my God, all the idle scribes. Has he figured it out? Okay, he's got the Kabbalist out. Oh, he's actually just going to kill the gallery. Oh, I don't know about that one. He has lost the Kabbalist down here. So I don't think he got a lot of worker kills, to be honest, but at least he's... what? Oh, how did he get the Vagrant out? I don't know. I wasn't watching. It's not like you can ask Neblime for some advice. All right. So he's making Kabbalists out of these galleries in the middle of the map, and it was cute, but didn't do enough damage. Neblime's Nexus is almost complete, and Smarty's going to drop his own. He'll also see the Scribe. And... Oh, the Pylon Block? Pylon Block? Well, it's just dead to the Kabbalist, but I liked the idea. Now, is that a fake? I mean, you'd need the Nexus. Yeah, okay. I was going to say, don't play too fancy here. Artisans and Hierophants moving out on the map. Just a couple of workers here at the natural for Neblime, but he will start to come back into it. Obviously, he's got the embassy. Might as well make workers out of it. And gateway number 2 is on the way. Man, I can't believe how outrageous the decollision was. I don't know how did he get that. Double expand here for Smarty. That's how he's going to come back into it. The Hierophant's just checking all the bases. It will actually see this third, so that might animate Neblime towards moving out. He's got 2 Gate Grand Libraries, so not terrible production for the stage in the game. I like the idea of not showing the Kabbalists initially, because he's made a lot of them. He's still making them now. So that makes me feel like he shouldn't necessarily show them and should just kind of like stack them up and then walk in and, you know, snipe out all the static D and start waylaying on the workers. Wailing on the workers? Waylay is something else. The Hierophant did get out of dodge before anything bad happened. There is a witness on the move and will scout out this rogue gallery in the middle of the map. Will it scout out the army movement, though? Neblime hasn't really clocked it just yet. He's like, what? Now he's going to see some of the army, maybe? Yeah, okay. So he's very aware of what's happening, including the number of Kabbalists here. Or at least, I thought there were more. Yeah, there are. He's actually keeping a bunch at home. So that's not terrible. That's like for counterattacks and stuff. But he can move that out with him now. Indeed he is, alongside all those Legionnaires. We have the Nexus at base number 3 coming. Down will go the Herald if he wants it. Doesn't look like he does. Could have just focused it down. Ends up losing a lot of Legionnaires for his trouble. He sniped a single Ecclesiast, and that was it. Oh, he's got to be on the ball here, because his Kabbalist count is It's going to be pretty deadly. They nuked the shield of the Herald immediately, so down that goes. We got a couple more. Those are some real heavy sustainers. Oh my god, look at the Kabbalists just going off! I talked about sniping defenses and nexuses, but it turns out they could just kill the army. Neblime is in a very dire position right now. He's going to have to pull the boys, and he does not have much of a worker lead right now, mind you. Does he just go after the Matrix? Of course. That's what you would do with all those Kabbalists. And so down they go. The Herald is still going to be providing some shield sustain, but it is not enough, and Smarty makes it in on the board and then has a Canada moment. What a way to celebrate his amazing dub post. And come on, man, we need to see the yeah, there you go. Let's see the score screen. GG, Smarty has managed to take a match, which means we need a fourth map to settle this on. Magnetron. Will it be the last one, or will we go to Impulsion for Game 5? Let's find out. And here we are on Magnetron, as promised. Game 4 between SmrtyCakes and Neblime. I want to share with you guys that I did say, I think this is the last chance I have to share it, potentially, if Neblime closes this out here. And Magnetron is an interesting map. I don't know how it'll exactly favor the two players, but let's see what happens. Neblime in the top right, Palatinate blue. Smarty in the bottom left. Dark spring green? Forest green. Okay, that was a hard one. So our homies here, obviously they popped into the lobby for game 3, and I said reverse sweep time. And Smarty said true in all caps. So is it true, Smarty? Don't make a liar out of you or me or both. Gateway for both players as we open things up. I love that the cheek kind of worked, even though it wasn't really the opening that worked. There's some really interesting moments there. Canceling the second gateway, and having it be the one that's like first to scout to, I thought that was a little interesting. Anyway, canceling the second gateway, going for double rogue gallery in the middle, and Neblime just not scouting it because he wasn't really clocking that as a potential option here on Macroglia. Now, there are no middle spots you can easily proxy, right? The Tensender is in the middle of the map. That's a nice little King of the Hill moment, but that's about it, So, Smarty looks like he's going to go Gallery here again, unless he wants to do something else with all that Vespine. It will be a Rogue Gallery, very close to the ramp as well. He's basically saying, like, yeah, the least travel time to your mineral line, please, without having to build a pylon somewhere in the middle of the map. And we will have the 2-gate start here. He actually canceled out the Ecclesiast, I think so that he could afford the embassy is coming, and he will be going for a Hierophant next, most likely. Legionnaire is going to kill the Scribes, so he will not be able to use it for other devilish purposes. A little bit of micro required for Smarty to actually finish the job there. But yeah, overall, I want to say, if Smarty just waypoints a Kabbalist in there, job is kind of done. He's forced a very fast embassy. He's going to force the Witness. What you can't fall into the trap of is making a ton of Kabbalists for harassment purposes. He could just double down and make a second rogue gallery and do a bunch of Kabbalists again as like combat units. We saw that worked out pretty nicely. But I think Neblime was just not ready for that potential outcome. He didn't realize it was double rogue gallery. So he's pretty good at scouting. He's obviously going to have access to the Witness deck. So... And this is something that I think you'll see as like a difference between how Neblime plays it out versus how other Protosses will. They'll probably like build the Witness, keep it at their base. But Neblime's got the Hierophant. My money's on him just camping out in the mineral line with the Hierophant and a couple of Legionnaires or something. Catch the Kabbalist if it comes in. Witness goes across the map to scout, then you build a second Witness if you need it. That seems a lot more sensible. Meanwhile, a Bulwark on the ramp is Smarty's approach, and he's just going to try to play it out on the one base for now. Adding that gateway number 2. He's definitely behind in terms of military production. We'll make no bones about it. Plus, the embassy will be used for artisans in later stages, as we mentioned. Looks like right now Neblime is not doing the maneuver that I mentioned where he actually moves the Witness across the map. Suppose there's not really anything in particular he needs to know right this moment. He can delay that later on. He's not typically a player who just keeps his asset pretty far away. Now, Kabbalist is just going to get got here. There's no hope for him, unfortunately, for Smarty. So anybody rooting on the underdog right now is going to have to say, oh. He's going to have to say, oh, no, Smarty. That's what they're going to have to say right now. But the Witness is now moving across the map for Neblime. And he is making a second one, so that's kind of what I thought as well, is that he might like make a second one to cover the first. Embassy coming for Smarty. He knows that the anti-witness tech is going to be necessary. Now, the bulwark does provide detection, so the witness could end up getting accidentally got if it flies into the Hierophant. Seems a little bit unlikely for that to happen, but I will reserve judgment until a little bit later. Yeah, just gets tapped by the Ecclesiast once, and the Nexus is put down. So, Legionnaires, 2 Hierophants, a Manifold. Some armor pen will be afforded. Yes, like a Manifold coming. That's what the lattices are for. That and Idols, apparently, trying to counter the potential Kabbalist comp. But it's not going to be that. Rogue Gallery is here. He's got 2 Kabbalists out, but he's, you know, the third one. He's not going to have as many as in Game 3. That's for sure. This Nexus will take some time to be brought down, but remember the Manifolds will provide some armor pen for the Hyros, for the Legios. So, nobody would call them Legios. Legionnaires. Legio, my Legio. So what's the reaction here? Kabbalists are going to try to assassinate those Hierophants, or those Legionnaires, which unfortunately for Smarty, he kind of just takes that fight and lets those Legionnaires surround his Kabbalist without any lick of sense at the first part. Now he's waiting for a couple more to come down. I think going after the Hierophant here is a great choice. He's still kind of getting wrapped into this, I must attack the frontline business, and that's not it. He lost both of his Kabbalists again, and the Nexus is about to finish, but it means he can't cancel it. It will be destroyed. 400 minerals down the drain. I don't think this is a deficit that Smarty can afford to be in. He doesn't have any tech that's going to change his fate necessarily. It's going to be a storm drop. That's his gambit here. But rather than it being a follow-up to something he's already doing elsewhere, because of his decisions with the fights, and because of his, you know, timing on the tech and the bulwark at the high ground not helping out with the Nexus, all of these things and more are resulting in the Storm Drop being a necessary comeback mechanic for him rather than anything else. Now, at this point, Neblime can still click on these and see, you're making Cantavis, you're making Envoy. I know what to predict. That scout is a little bit heartbreaking. We've got a Rogue Gallery for Neblime as the fast tier 2 option. He's got Artisans, obviously, over at the 3 o'clock, getting the gas from the natural and saturating that as well. And I'm sure he's going to set up some anti-drop defenses. If he doesn't, that's the only real way. The hopes of SmrtyCakes' people rest upon that Envoy. Another witness moving across the map. Neblime no longer fearing the Kabbalist for the time being. Oh, and the Artisans might catch him. He's actually kind of threading the needle rather well, not that he could really know. And unfortunately, those Artisans will reveal him at the 3 o'clock, but it's limited enough response time. Neblime's army is at the natural. I don't expect this drop to do what it needs to do. But maybe he's a little bit distracted by some action over here in the natural of his opponent. Does his camera ever pan over? It does. He knows what's happening. He should send some units over. He's already evacuating the scribes, and then he's sending the army, prioritizing that eco lead that he's got of, 13 or so workers. No Hierophant tagging, so at least the Envoy can still move. Oh, well, I spoke too soon perhaps, but the scribe's actually blocking it. He's shut down a little bit of eco just by flying over, but not the damage that he was looking for. You can't actually drop on the low ground over here either, by the way. You have to drop in the high ground. He only really ends up getting away with 1 kill there. No, 2. 2 scribes went down. Gonna go for that main base now, but the Hierophant tag is really stopping it from helping. Not quite able to do much, and Cantavis goes down. The bigger problem will be losing the Envoy, weirdly enough, even though the Cantavis is more expensive, because it's just easier to, make Artisans and come back that way from the embassy. But we see that Smarty's not exactly doing that. Second Rogue Gallery, he's doubling down on the Kabbalist play. Third Rogue Gallery, he's going to go triple Kabbalist production here and see if he can just win on the ground. And he might still be able to do it, because at this point, Neblime has stopped itemizing against the Kabbalist. He's going for Vagrants, which aren't bad versus Kabbalist, but, they're not the idle splash damage monsters with the armor pen of the Manifold that we just see him fielding here. So there's a chance that the Kabbalist victory can still be upon us. Are we going to get another Storm Drop out of the picture? It looks like he's considering what to do. Instead, it'll be a Vagrant. Interesting. He just wants to show Neblime that he's got something, right? And so I think that's good. That's good. Keep his attention partnered. Now, when you see this extra set of Rogue Gallery, idle production immediately kicks back into gear. Neblime is on the ball here. Also adding Charlatan. Charlatan Idle is just going to trounce the Kabbalists if they don't really pick a smart fight. And he's got smart in the name, so in theory, I would love the Vagrant to unload over here and then the Envoy to continue going in. He's already diving back, thinking, I've got to defend this. Oh, you can't beat the Vagrant. I mean, you might kill it, but then he's going to kill you when he shades. So this is a really good choice for the anti-artisan play. So he's going to end up losing 4 artisans if he's not too cognizant of that. Witness spotting the double geyser base being taken here. Interior 6, we can call it. Looks like that artisan narrowly stayed alive. The envoy does need to get out of dodge. Mineral only base being taken as the 3rd for both players, although it's much further away. Oh my god. What are we seeing? Get out of here. Now, Smarty's kind of blind, right? He doesn't have the witness setup that his opponent does. And instead, he's just making his own artisans. He was not able to shut down the artisans down here in the bottom right, although he will scout it out with the envoy at least. Looks like the scribe over here, which was scouted out by a witness from Neblime, is going to be bopped by the army. No nexus here to cancel. Ah, finds his enemy's witness. Well, actually, Neblime's Legionnaire is a little wounded, so if only Smarty just attacked it. Oh no, they got to do a mono fight, but his micro is anti-micro. I don't know what was going on there, guys. I'm gonna be honest. Smarty adding a herald. 2 versus 1 fight, not very fair, not very reasonable. Artisans stacking up at 3 again. Envoy just silently observing the artisans in the bottom right. A Dracodon is on the way to deal with that. There is a Legionnaire, and the artisans are going to force some micro out of the Drac, I think. Holy moly, more gates and more rogue galleries. Let's see. Because we got a lot of Kabbalists being made. Dude, he's got 10 Kabbalists and way more coming. This is so crazy it might just work for a game 5. And Neblime is going to be like, what do I even do then? Double Argosy should shut it down. Didact to Stasis or, whatever he wants to do. He doesn't quite have the event speed for a Didact, but I think going for like Magister or Epigraph in particular is really, really good. As like a 1-unit power spike type deal that you can get. Magister will be the luck of the draw for now. Attempted 4th base, stymied. Neblime's been really, really good at stymieing expansion attempts. There's a hashed game on Corrosion where it was just ridiculous how many times it was canceled, so... Unfortunately, could not quite get to a terminus, but let's see what SmrtyCakes can do now. Smarty's witness is sort of partially revealed there, but not going to be bopped quite immediately. Yeah, you need to take your fights very carefully versus this kind of thing. And you can see how interesting it is, where there's like all these shadow moves that are being done by the by all of the Protoss. That both players are just trying to find each other's artisans, shut down the eco, stop the expansions from going up. They're avoiding the big fight. They're avoiding the big army fight. At what point did we just take all of our Kabbalists and right-click the Nexus? Holy moly, Neblime. He's going to see all those workers and get them working at the 3 o'clock. Still no 4th base established for Smarty, but the Nexus is here on a gas base. And 12 o'clock also being taken for more minerals for Neblime, so there is that as well. It looks like his witness will be sniped again, but it does reveal where the army is. So this is dicey, man. This is a knife's edge type stuff, and I'm not talking about the map. We still have 10 Kabbalists here with the army. We got 5 more back home. Smarty thinking about taking bottom right. Can't do it. There's a random unit there. Kabbalist guarding at the 11 o'clock. 1 Kabbalist shows up here to start heckling the 3. Well, he killed 2 wardens, so that counts for something. That's so ridiculous. 12 could just be right-clicked by the Kabbalists if Smarty dared to do it. Throws the Dracodon in the 10 sender. Love it. A little bit of vision in the middle of the map. Never hurt nobody. Okay, he finally gets a 4th base, Nexus-wise. Problem is it's a mineral-only base. He does not have access to extra Vespine. Doesn't even need it, though. Air Army's spotted over here. It's Magister Vassal Barghest. That's really interesting. And the Kabbalists do end up going in the direction of the 3 o'clock. I don't know what's going to happen here, guys. That was not enough Kabbalists to make this magic work in the way. And Smarty's kind of marooned out here. But his opponent is coming in through a bit of a choke between the geyser and the wall. He can definitely go throw down some storms. 9 o'clock getting canceled out there. Well, it was just an artisan. Some units are going to scramble over to it, but it's a lot of anti-ground. It's just the zealots. Those should be pinched off to attack the extra base that Neblime has. And it looks like the army will start to fall away. Now, the Hierophants are not going to be able to single-handedly push this back. There's a lot of Kabbalists and Zealots over here that are not helping whatsoever. Meanwhile, Neblime's army kind of getting split up by the little cover around the base. The 10th Sender will be felled in the middle of the map. Can't believe it, dude. I can't believe it. So he's cycling back towards his 6 o'clock. This is where he needs to defend right at this moment. He has lost a bunch of workers. Well, no, it looks like he evacuated all the workers just over to the 6 o'clock instead. Random outcropping of units is going to reveal what's happening out here. The Kabbalists are storming the gates. The trigger has been pulled, but now he's getting a little bit skittish and starts to cycle away. I don't know if we have detection here for Neblime. It does not look like there's a witness here for him. But he's really marauding on this left-hand side, and the airships are trying to beat down this front gate. Is this SmrtyCakes' final hour? He's got more Kabbalists joining the fray, but the Vagrants are going to be so hard to break down, even with the Kabbalist damage. And the Scribes are being pulled, but the Charlatans are not jumped upon. The Vagrants needed to move over to this right-hand side and deal with all that air. There's no anti-air here for Smarty at all. He doesn't have any Positrons or anything of the sort, and he has been routed, pushed back. Left to only a few units. GG. Neblime moves on to the grand final, and he will be facing off against the Ascozi Menace. Ladies and gentlemen, the end of the game. The end of our match. Thank you for joining us for these 4 impactful Cause Monarchy games. I look forward to seeing you guys for future series, including our grand final that's coming up very soon. GG.